Shame on you!
Shame on you. My name is Ella Indy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion.
And I'm Kizzy Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champion.
And you better go listen to the Alliance blog. What is it called again?
Podcast, period.
Or you're ugly. Pretty and power approved.
Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive pop and Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
One of these days I'll get it right. I promise you, one of these days I'll get it right. What is up, everybody? This is the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal. His name is Jaden. What's up, Jaden? How are you, buddy?
The opposite of down.
All right.
That's what's up. The opposite of down.
You got me. You stumped me. I don't know what to say.
All right, that was the show this week, guys. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you check out alliance-wrestling.com and make sure you check out our... Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Of course, DKM will be joining us later in the show. He's on assignment.
He chased down some taco trucks, and he's unfortunately about 9.5 miles away before he realized it was no longer a taco truck.
What was it?
Trash truck? I don't know. Ask him when he comes back.
We'll ask him when he comes back. I know Willie Bowen's in the house. Willie, what's up? I see Jeremy's in the house. What's up, Jeremy Lane? Bricks is in the house. What's up, everybody? Thank you for jumping on the show. We're here every Thursday to talk to you, that hashtag NWA fam, about all things NWA. I got to be honest, Jaden, I'm a little under the weather, man. That trip to Mexico kicked my butt in more ways than one, man. I'm still recovering.
Did you drink the water?
No, I didn't. That's the thing. Anytime I drank water, it was straight from a bottle. I purchased the bottles unless they were selling me dirty water, which, I mean, I guess that could have happened, but man, I was down, I was out, but I still managed to do quite a few things. Have you ever been to Mexico, James?
Closest I've been was Laredo, Texas, which is like literally you can see the other side of the border. So I wasn't, but I could spit there probably.
I've been to some of the resort towns. I've been to the border town like TJ, but this is my first time in the city, and it's huge, man. I've heard people say it's as big as New York City. I've never been to New York City. It's much bigger than Los Angeles, and it's a very old city too. So, a lot of the buildings are very historical, and museums and everything else. I mean, there's angels and devils and dragons and all kinds of crazy things. And it's pretty cool to see all that. I walked down one street and I even told my wife, I go, it looks like I'm walking down Main Street at Disneyland, just because everything looks so like unreal. It looked very much like you were walking at Disneyland.
It's been a long time since I've done that either. Well, Disney World for me.
Yeah. Have you ever been to California?
Only as a stopover. So, unfortunately, not long enough to say I was truly in California. Actually, I was in California way longer than I was in Hawaii because I never left the airport, at least there.
it was a unique experience, and while I was there, I made the most of it. I went to as many wrestling lucha libre shows as I could. I was initially supposed to touch down on Friday at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, which would have given me ample time to check out the CMLL show on Friday night, or as we say in Mexico, Viernes. I was looking forward to making that show, but unfortunately, my plane didn't end up departing till after 10 p.m. thanks to a couple of delays. So I did get to go to a couple of shows, though. I did visit of course, the World is a Vampire Festival. Everyone else was there for music. Your boy Jake Howe was there strictly for the Lucha Libre. I left as soon as the wrestling was over so that I could make it to the CMLL Coliseo Arena show, which I talked a lot about on Tuesday. And then I also went to the Arena Mexico for CMLL on Sunday. So I got to go to both, touchdowns, if you will, like homes of CMLL. And if you're a fan of Lucha Libre, I mean, that's kind of like the mecca of Lucha, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, Arena Mexico, all of that area. CMLL is one of the oldest promotions in existence. Might even be, if I think about it, the oldest promotion in existence.
89 years. And they've
Yeah.
been. And Polka Dot Pam is shocked and probably disappointed in me, but yeah, I skipped out on the Pumpkins to check out that arena show. Pam and I were going to try to hook up at the CMLL arena show, but my phone lost internet sometime around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was dead in the water. Like, this was kind of scary because, like, if you have your phone in Mexico, it's fine. You can Uber everywhere. You can have Uber Eats bring food to you, which I did. I had Little Caesars pizza on Saturday night, but like my phone on Sunday just completely crapped out on me. I could not get any internet signal whatsoever. So like, my limited Spanish really got tested because now you're trying to talk to people in Espanol. And it's like, if you understand a little bit, but you can't speak a lot, it's not very helpful. Luckily, I was able to jump on somebody's Wi-Fi to get an Uber back to my hotel Sunday night. But like I had to still figure out immigration to get back into the country. I had to get my plane tickets and everything else. It was crazy, man. And my hotel didn't have very reliable internet service. I didn't see. I should have stayed at like a Hilton or a Hyatt or something like that. But no, I chose to pick the hotel where they steal your kidneys at. And luckily, I kept my kidneys, but I didn't have internet the entire time I was there.
Did you know, by the way, there's a new tour coming out with the Smashing Pumpkins?
What's that called?
They're going to be teaming with the Spice Girls. They're going to call themselves the Pumpkin Spice.
Oh, shit. Well, one of the things from the press conference a few days earlier is that they did say that they're going to do a similar tour that they did in Mexico. They're going to do the similar festival here in the United States, which I think is going to be really cool because I think it worked, man. I really, for as much shit as I've talked about, Billy and the NWA and the things that they do wrong, this worked really well. The concert was cool, and like I said, had I had my primary reason to been to see Smashing Pumpkins, I would have stayed to see Smashing Pumpkins. I did get to hear a new band that I liked, Death Haven. I think they were pretty badass. I will be adding them to my Spotify playlist for sure. And I got to see Becca Wolf's band, Monster Wolf. They were pretty awesome. Another band that I got to hear too that I really, really liked was the Bloody Benders. It was like a mostly all chick band. One of the guitar player in the band was a dude, but the rest were all female led, and it was very like I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's like a horror metal or core metalcore or something like that. Punk core. I don't know. It was pretty awesome, and I really liked the way it sounded. So I had a good time. It was a great couple of days, but like that last day, that Sunday was very exhausting. Polka Dot Pam liked the Bloody Benders too. They were tight, man. I'm not used to that kind of a sound. Like I do like some I would say like goth type music, like Tool or Perfect Circle. This was very different from that, and but it was pretty awesome.
It sounds really awesome. I love good music. That's why I don't like the Smashing Pumpkins.
Pollo Lamar's calling me out, said an all chick band, and then he calls them a horror metal. Damn it, Pollo. I love Pollo. Pollo's the best. Pollo should have been there, man. I think Pollo, they would have made Pollo queen of Mexico City.
Pollo, I meant to ask, by the way, where are you based out of?
San Francisco.
Never mind. If you ever get to New Jersey, let me know.
Horror Riot. Is that Pam? Is that the band's name, or is that what the style of music is called?
I think she meant the horror riot.
Yeah. Willie Bowen says, "Don't drink any tequila in Mexico. The bartenders put dead worms in the drink." Actually, it's the mezcal that they put the worms in, and I had some, but so I did this tour on Sunday where we walked to Arena Mexico, and I got to have some mezcal, and I wasn't really planning on drinking any because I'm not a big drinker, and I had they were like samples. I had like 5 samples and then a big shot, and I felt very good walking to Arena Mexico.
Yeah, that's because you're a two White Claw man.
I don't drink White Claw either.
You're too White Claw wasted. That's what it is.
A White Claw waste. I feel White Claw wasted right now. Hey Pam, did you get did you have any illness? Because I have this head cold now. I came home with, and I think I got it on the airplane, but I don't know. I've been feeling kind of messed up ever since. But
Jaden's travel tips. Travel tips. Next time you get on a plane, especially if you have to be there any long time, get yourself some elderberry syrup.
Elderberry syrup. Okay.
Yeah, it helps keep your immune system high. It's usually recommended for plane flights.
Yeah, I had brought a mask with me, and then I ended up not wearing it. I really regret not wearing it because I think if I'd have worn the mask, it might have helped on the plane ride home. But I started feeling it on the plane ride. Pam says she's had some stomach ick too. Yeah, I had that the entire time I was there, but I felt better. I felt better when I got home. But I'm also that kind of person. I don't take care of myself, and I'm not trying to sound like a complainer, but I'm go. So I didn't really eat when I was in Mexico. I had like a total of 4 meals. I ate barbecue in Texas because you kind of have to when I was in the airport. Then I landed and I didn't eat anything the rest of the evening. Then the next day I walked to I told you I took a Uber to Walmart to try to find these guys, which they did not have any more of. And yeah. Thanks, Pollo. Shit. Boom, roasted. Thanks, Pollo. So then I had a meal at I want to say it was probably like a Mexican version of Denny's, and I had some chilaquiles and some enchiladas, and they were okay. I was disappointed; they weren't very good at all. And
I want to see a Mexican version of the Waffle House. Would it be like the tortilla house?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe a churro house.
The churro house. There you go.
Yeah, but it was
the churro adobe.
Yeah, churro adobe. Pam, mine started literally the day I got there, and I don't know, maybe it was the stress of traveling alone or the fact that I was in a foreign country. I don't know. But I did not drink tap water either. Any water I drank came out of a bottle. And still, I don't know. But anyways, it was cool. If you guys ever have a chance to check out the arenas, Coliso or Arena Mexico, or really just even travel to Mexico City, you should, because it's rad. And this is something that I guess the Billy had mentioned that they want to try to do this annually. And he even said it's not necessarily about the Smashing Pumpkins, but the alternative music festival in Mexico. But I do believe he wants to continue this relationship with AAA. And I think, man, I have a bunch of video that I'm going to play if you guys didn't get to see it. Pam says, yeah, it was a great festival. So many people. Like I said, there was a lot of cool bands there. Some bands I'd never even heard of before. Like I said, Death Haven was. if you like Deftones, Def Haven might be up your alley. I really enjoyed it. Very melodic, very cool music. And Poyo said everyone, almost the entire crew came home with yuck. So I'm glad I'm not alone. But without any further ado, let me show you a little bit from what I did in Mexico from Arena Coli. So I got some front row seats. This is Pam. This is when I skipped out on the pumpkins. So.
Como capitán de la esquina ruda, Felino Junior.
And I didn't record enough. I didn't record whole matches, and I've been very strict about not kind of spoiling the show that happened in Mexico, just because I feel like this was a big enough deal. I feel like this was a big enough deal that it shouldn't ruin what I did in Mexico. Shouldn't ruin with the presentation they finally deliver in a couple of weeks, whether it be Power Trip or Power USA, whatever they end up calling it. It should be called Power Trip because it most definitely was a trip being out in Mexico. And, they're going to be doing the same thing in Australia in just a few weeks. And, man, that would be an awesome trip that I would love to take maybe next year if they go to Australia again. Jaden, have you ever been outside of the country? Have you ever been outside the country for wrestling?
Yes, actually, not for wrestling, but I saw wrestling in Japan. So that was really cool. And I've also been to West Virginia, and that's about as outside of the country as you can get.
I knew you were going there. I knew you were going to have something funny to say.
Yes.
I'm going to see if I can pull up some more of the videos right now. I just have to put them in the queue here. So hold on just a second. Bear with me, guys. We got DK just popped on. We'll get to DK in a minute. Here's some more footage from, this is Arena Mexico, I believe. Nope, that's Oh, that's a Blue Panther without the mask on. And that guy, I didn't realize how old he was. And speaking of old guys, what's up, DK? How are you, buddy?
Watch it, White.
Poyle says my footage is better than 75% of the indies out there, and I'm glad. I'm glad because I was really worried about my footage. I just recently got the new Samsung Galaxy S23.
Nice phone.
I was so worried that the footage wasn't going to look decent, and it did. I was very happy with that.
Yeah, nice phone. I'm talking to you now on it.
Oh, is that what you have?
Yeah, the S23 Ultra Plus or whatever, the big one with the pen.
Yeah. My wife suggested it because it's got a large, the camera capability is good, but it also has a large, like a 1 terabyte hard drive, which is really important when you're out literally trying to shoot footage the whole time.
Yeah, it's a very, very nice phone. It gets warm very fast, though. You have to be careful with that.
And then Poyle says this for DKM. There's Blue Panther and Grumpy Cat. DKM.
Grumpy Cat. How was your taco truck? By the way, we said you were late because you chased down a taco truck for 9 miles. How was it?
The weirdest thing is I actually picked up tacos on the way home.
See?
Oh, what kind of tacos? We talking Taco Bell or real stuff?
Real. I occasionally get cravings for, like just a cheap crunchy taco.
For like a Taco Bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I need a cleanse, I do also.
He doesn't. And so, but no, today I went to a place and got street tacos.
Poyo said the craziest part is he picks up tacos, but he never puts them down. That's true, by the way. Once the taco's in my hand, I never put it down.
Oh, they go down.
All right, here we go. Here's some more footage from what I shot in Mexico City.
What? You got shot in Mexico City?
No. So initially I was like, initially I was standing on the other opposite side, and I was right up front. And I thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to go the other side and get a better look of it. And then I didn't realize the camera rig was right there. And so I sat there for a few minutes with maybe one person in front of me, and then the rig kept coming in front of the shot. I was like, well, that sucks. Yeah, so I ended up having
there.
So this was earlier in the day, and I mean, you could tell there's from where I was at right here, there was like 4 or 5 people behind me, but like rows of people. I'm gonna say there was probably about 2,000, 3,000 people right there at this point, because the whole ring the ring was surrounded, and Pam was on the entrance rail on both sides of the show. I was actually standing right across from Pam, and when I show some footage later, you might even see her in some of it. You can see when I pull up more of the footage, like you can see Sal in the crowd, or not in the crowd, but behind the scenes. At one point, I saw the Chessman, and they ended up doing this thing with a social media influencer and Chessman from AAA, and I guess it's going to play out kind of like a Luke Paul situation for AAA for their Triple Mania events, like perhaps maybe like a some sort of deal where he's going to wrestle Chessman at the Triple Mania. But I'm just trying to get some more of these videos. Sorry, guys, if I seem a little distracted. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. So I ended up moving my seat, or not my seat, but where I was at, and I tried to get to the better viewpoint, and this is where I was behind like at least like 8 people,
NWA versus AAA. Go Shuttle!
You get this is a better representation of how many people are there. Commander's been making the news about that guy that he didn't. He's probably going to end up in AEW real soon.
Super Saiyajin. Cogiendo no se vale. Son muchas no caricias, cabrón. ¡Chinga tu madre, gringo! ¡Pinches tacos! ¡Se ve! No me dejan ver. Sí, es cierto. Oh. ¿Qué pasó?
I didn't realize I shot this much footage in this match. Yeah, in my defense, guys, most of the footage is it's not going to be very action packed. I'm not very good at recording video. It turns out I don't really know when the wrestling is going to happen. And one of the worst things is when I'm recording, I'm literally holding my phone like this in the bright sun, and I can't even really make out what I'm actually recording. So I'm lucky I got anything that was decent, though.
That explains why you're a fan of AEW. You don't know when the wrestling's happening.
Who said I was a fan of AEW? Just because I have
We just did.
I said?
No, we just did.
Oh, I was going to say, because just because I have an action figure of one of my friends who happened to wrestle for AEW doesn't mean I'm an AEW fan.
You have friends?
I used to.
You're cheating on me and DK. You ain't allowed to have other friends.
Before I started doing this podcast, I had friends.
Yeah, this podcast pushes a lot of people away.
Like my wife. Hey. Oh.
Hey. Did you like what I sent you earlier on, by the way?
Yes. I shared it. But I mean, look at, I guess one of the things that you can take away from this is look how many people are there. I mean, there's a ton of people there. And it's that way all the way around the ring, which I think is pretty cool.
Were they there to see the wrestling, or were they there to see the music?
Well, they're
the music?
there to see the music, but the fact that they enjoyed the wrestling, I think, is a good takeaway. And you could hear the crowd like reacting to the wrestling too. It wasn't like they were sitting on their hands; they were getting into it. You know, especially what I found very interesting was Pam brought that up too. So many women that were in that crowd. It wasn't just guys there; it was a very equally diverse group. And you know, you could hear the guys catcalling and whistling, and you know. They started doing some of the lucha chants later in the show, you know, culero and I don't know if I said that right, then pinche tu madre and stuff like that. And you know, if we translated, I'd probably get demonetized, but because this is an English speaking station, I think I'm all right. And Poyle brings up a good point too. It's like it was an opportunity to expose a crowd of potential fans to wrestling, and sometimes that is how you do. That's how you capture those casual viewers. Are you guys enjoying this, or should we move on to something else? Because I have a lot more footage to show.
You got any that has interesting wrestling in it?
Well, what about that? That was pretty good, right?
Yeah, it has moments.
Scooby asked, how was the response to Scion, the Masked Gringo? They could care less about him. They treated, essentially, any NWA wrestler was a de facto heel, or rudo, if you will, and any of the AAA talent was the de facto babyface, or technico, if you will. And if Poyle was there, there would have been an exotico, but there were no exoticos there during the weekend. And the other like disappointing part about it was too is well, I guess not disappointing, but interesting is what I meant to say, is that Daga was very much a rudo, and like during his promo, he did have a promo during the early show, kind of putting down Mexico, putting down AAA. So when Tyrus came out, politics aside, pro wrestling aside, he was over because Daga was such a heel. And so you got a different version of Tyrus. He was more leaning into the Funkasaurus, if you will, from his WWE time. And every wrestler that was there, all the NWA talents were more leaning to a heel side. So, which was very interesting when we see Kerry Morton a little bit later. You know, he was very much treated as a heel, which is something that, you know, NWA fans aren't necessarily used to, but it's not something that's too new for him. Let me see if I have any clips of that. And
yeah, what's with Harry Morton?
I'm looking for it. I think Kerry Morton was kind of towards the main event because it was the title match.
There was a lot of booty in the ring there.
Why are you complaining about that?
Where was I complaining?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Misunderstood.
Who was the other lady in the match with Stifler's mom?
What did you say? What was her name?
Yeah.
I think that was, I want to say Verna or something like that. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know.
Don't make a liar out of me.
This was Stevens and Markova. And obviously, the male audience was Wanda.
Las figuras de NWA. Le damos la bienvenida a la primera pareja mixta para este siguiente enfrentamiento. Llegando directamente desde la NWA.
Not that this is commercial for the Galaxy S23, but you know, this is like, you can see there's like 4 or 5 people with and I'm getting pretty decent footage. You know?
En el inicio de esta nueva etapa de NWA y la otra gladiadora es.
All right. Let me see. And yeah, so I'm looking for some more of the Kerry. I guess I don't have a lot of the Kerry Morton footage.
If only you would have labeled it before you came on the air.
Right? I mean, I wish I did, but you know.
La potencia mundial de la lucha libre por ahí está tomando el bote de basura con el cual lo había castigado Trevor Murdoch.
I'm still looking. I'm sorry. I'm still looking. Maybe this one. Let's see.
Hope he doesn't accidentally click on a video we shouldn't be seeing.
You should all be so lucky.
Ahora está la pieza maestra. Los retadores representan a NWA. 3 señores rivales. Nuestros campeones no se queden atrás. Ahí está Vladimir. ¡Auch! Se escucha el coro de
Here's a little bit of Kerry. All right, I don't have a lot of Kerry. Well, okay. There is a lot of Kerry, but it's shot vertically, and I didn't import the vertical videos in here. You're going to have to just watch the YouTube shorts to catch up with what Kerry was doing in Mexico. You know what? I got to hang out with Kerry, and I think I know Pam did too. Pollo, no, Pagano wasn't there. Pagano is currently injured. He would have made a good opponent for Tyrus, I think. I would have liked to see somebody like Pagano and Tyrus, because somebody who was a little bit bigger, but, you know, again, with Tyrus, he would have looked a lot smaller anyways. Pollo, the belt that Kratos was holding was the trios title. He ripped it out of their hands, and I literally took the video because I was gonna post that photo to make it look like they won the titles, but I'm not giving out any spoilers, so we'll just keep going with that. Let's see. You guys want to see some more footage before we talk about Power?
Anything to not talk about Power.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Before you do more footage.
What's that?
So before you do more footage, what was you may have already done this, but I wasn't here, so it doesn't count. So what were your overall impressions of just being there? I mean, like you said, obviously the crowd was very into it, even if they weren't, quote unquote, your normal wrestling fans. Although some of them probably were. Mexico's got a lot of wrestling fans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you talked about how NWA were basically the heels and
yeah,
were the faces, except in the world title match. So, I mean, when you're sitting there going through all this, is it vibing well for you? Are you glad you made the trip? Did you drink the water? I mean, come on.
Okay, so we did talk about. I have been a little sick. I did not drink the water. I have been. Pollo pointed out earlier too that everyone came home a little sick. Even Pam said she's feeling a little under the weather. I've got this like nasty head cold, but I don't feel like I got that until the airplane ride home. But that might have been when everything caught up with me as well. It's cool. So if you ask the vibe, I thought the vibe was awesome. For me personally, this trip was fantastic because I got to do a lot of bucket list items. I've always wanted to see Lucha Libre in Mexico. Now I've been fortunate enough to see it at the Crash. There's videos on this channel of that I've taken of the Crash matches in TJ. My family, we traveled to Cabo quite frequently. Been there 2 times in the last 3 years. And I've wanted to go check out maybe Lucha Libre in Cabo, but it doesn't happen very often. So being able to go to Mexico City, the heart of Mexico, and being able to watch Lucha Libre in the same arenas where I know that Blue Demon had wrestled before, and Hijo del Santo, and Rey Mysterio, and Juventud Guerrera, Super Calo, and all the luchadores that I grew up watching in WCW in the late 90s. That was cool, and that was really, really neat. And being able to go to the Arena Coliseo was like a bucket list item because I've seen TV from there. I've seen matches from there. And being in Arena Mexico, again, these are huge buildings that are dedicated to Lucha Libre. I mean, that's pretty crazy. You think about it, like the mecca of pro wrestling in the United States is what? Madison Square Garden? But that's not even dedicated to pro wrestling. That's just where the WWE runs frequently when they're in New York. Like Arena Coliseo, I don't know what else they use that building for. It looks like, as far as I can tell, it looks like it's owned by CMLL. I don't, maybe it could be a zoo, or not a zoo, excuse me, like a circus. But outside of that, I don't know what you could even use that venue for. So that was kind of cool. And again, like being in that environment, it's like it was cool. I don't know how else to say it. Being at the festival was interesting, and I think it's going to look really good on TV. My footage, my camera, my phone camera, caught some pretty decent footage, and it looks good. I can't wait to see the professionally shot footage, and we could all see those matches together, whether it be on Power Trip USA, Power, whatever they do. I think it's going to look really good, and I think the positives for this is you put the NWA in the same sentence as AAA, which, let's be honest, AAA is, AAA CMLL are fighting for who's the best wrestling promotion in Mexico. Right now, a lot of people will tell you that AAA is the hotter lucha promotion. Some people say CMLL is, it's still like, which do you prefer, Coke or Pepsi? But you put the NWA name next to that. I think that means something. I think that's valuable for the NWA, and I think it's something that you can continue to build on. And I think if this relationship continues to grow, I mean, we know that Tom and Camille will be part of the Lucha Libre World Cup along with Natalia Markova representing the NWA. That's big. That's a big deal. And hopefully this continues to this relationship continues to grow, because I think it would be very beneficial for the NWA.
Now that's Conan that works with AAA, right?
What's that?
Conan's the one that is AAA.
Yeah.
AAA will work with anybody if they think it'll help them out. So,
so that means a lot. Then, because that means that they think that the NWA can help them out.
Well, I think he made a statement about, that it was that working with Billy was, I don't want to say like a good thing or whatever, but that the relationship worked well, that they got on and very professional and everything like that. It's been too long since I've read the article, but if anyone out there remembers it better than my dying brain
cells.
See, I told you they're dying. Feel free to chime into the chat or whatever. But yeah, I certainly think things like this are beneficial, and the optics, like you said, when it's professionally done, and you see a crowd of 2,000, that looks big. People like things that look big. When
that was too easy.
What?
That was way too easy.
Yeah.
We would be demonetized for sure if I said what I was going to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have to edit the video and put it back up later.
Yeah.
But I think, but what I was getting at is that people like to be a part of something.
Yeah.
And the bigger something is, the more they want to be a part of it. So if you can get crowds of 2,000-3,000 in Mexico, and maybe it grew after that, and if you can get a good going crowd in Australia, hopefully then nice. Then you got something that looks good and on TV looks popular and looks, that's what's going to draw people in. We're going to talk a little bit here when we talk about Power about, I feel like with this last show that there was a little bit of change in how they're doing stuff. And we can talk about what worked and what didn't work. But, the last 2 weeks, their times have been down to about 38 minutes on Power, 31 minutes on USA. And maybe they're moving towards using these products more the way they should be used. And we can talk about that when we talk about Power.
Go ahead, Jade. Go ahead.
On the subject of Arena Mexico, they are even more famous for holding boxing, even though in the later years it's become a lot less of it, but they still have big boxing matches in Arena Mexico also.
Pollo posted a few things, and I'm going to read those comments, and then we'll show some more footage from Mexico, and then we'll get back to regular NWA talk. But Pollo says that Billy is developing relationships which will objectively return the NWA world title to be perceived as a global, traveling, defending world title. Mexico, Australia, with the champion facing local top contenders is a positive. And we're touring the U.S. as well. And I know of upcoming dates and some discussion of locations, so things are doing exactly what Billy said he would do. And I really believe that's a big part of it. We've mocked the 20-year plan on this show. And we absolutely have, and with good reason, because it just doesn't feel like a 20-year plan cemented 5 years ago could really put you in the driver's seat of being a dominant wrestling promotion. But let's be honest. If Billy could get his world heavyweight champion defending in other places and other countries, basically what made the NWA world title what made it great was when it was defended all over the world. What made it great is when you had, Harley Race and Baba wrestling in Japan. You know, like that. I'm not saying that that was a groundbreaking match, but having your world's heavyweight title, that's something that the WWE can't do. That's something that honestly AEW can do, right? But they don't. And I'm just saying if things move forward like this, I think we're gonna see a better NWA. And look, I'm not saying I don't think anyone believes that the NWA is going to be able to compete with the WWE in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 20 years. But I'm saying that they're planting the seeds now to move in the positive direction. You know, I just really think that they're moving in the right way. And Poyo also wants to remind us that it was a 20-year plan cemented 5 years ago and derailed for over 2 years by COVID, which is, I mean, again, that's fair too. And Polka Dot Pam wants everyone to know that Chris Adonis already wrestles all over the world as champion, and or as champion, he would be fantastic. All right. Now, with that being said, can I show some more footage?
I don't know. Can you?
I could try.
Can you show the right footage?
No, there is no right footage.
How about left footage? Or any footage is left?
Yeah, I'll show you what's left. I'm just cleaning up the channel here a little bit so I can make it easier to find the footage. All right. DK, you're on mute.
That's what they all say.
Okay, fair. We already showed that one. I'll find some footage that I didn't show. Sorry. I'm doing my best, guys. I'm not a producer. How about
Usually when they do that footage, they have two separate things. They have one that's open and they have one that's another folder, and they move things they already showed over.
I don't have that. I'm sorry. I'm using what I have available. The tools are available to me.
If you right click, you can create another folder and just move everything over.
No, it's not. You don't know what I'm looking at.
Y para esta contienda, hoy celebrando su cumpleaños, el hijo del tirante.
Sorry, I thought there was more to that one. My apologies. Did we see this one already?
Yes.
This is gonna be fun.
It's kind of like in Conan O'Brien where they keep showing the footage of Mac and Me.
¡Dale en su madre, vampiro! ¡Dale en su madre, vampiro! ¡Es oficial! Ahí está el título en parejas. La lucha que tenemos ahora. La manera como está listo. Ahora que no está pagando todo el odio que ha sido de la rebelión, lanzándose sobre el vampiro, que hoy tiene apoyo. Hizo de las suyas, dando la ventaja a los campeones. El campeonato mundial femenil de la NWA. Referee para esta contienda, el hijo del tirante. A ganar una carrera sin límite de tiempo.
This might have been my match of the night. And the thing about this match that I want to point out too is that Camille, it took a while for Camille to get to Mexico. She had a couple of plane cancellation similar to me, but much, much worse. And I heard that they drove from Tennessee to Atlanta and had to fly out of Atlanta direct to Mexico City, and they only arrived just a few hours before the show started. So to say that she was jet lagged, I mean, man, it was rough. And then watching her in the ring, and you'll guys see the more of the show later when it comes out. But she had to overcome a lot to get to there, and she looked like it took her toll on her, and as a champion, she still competed and she still finished the match. So
yeah, from that footage, I think Camille could have used some dubby.
Yeah, she might have. Debbie could have been very helpful for her, and we saw her do that move, that same move she did on Power this past Tuesday. The kind of like the homage to Dr. Death, where she slammed him into the turnbuckle and then Power slammed him. And yeah, Pollo said she looks exhausted, and she was exhausted. That's not an easy schedule to do, to literally fly there that day. And I mean, I know that the WWE travels, but normally they're not doing that much travel the day of the event. So props to them for getting through the show and being able to put over the stuff. And I have just a few more videos if you guys want to bear with it. And
I think she said it took her about 24 hours. It took her and Tom 24 hours basically from the time they started till the time they finally got there.
Yeah. So this is the last clip I have for the NWA. And I didn't record there during that match. Actually, Daga got injured, and I have the clip of it. I don't know if I'm gonna put it online, but he hurt himself during the middle of that match, and kind of props to him for being able to finish it out. Again, I don't want to spoil the results of the show, but everything that you think happened. There's nothing, no mystery. There's no, it's not a secret. If there were title changes, we'd be talking about it. The show was fun. Again, I really highly recommend everyone watch it when it does come out on YouTube. But it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing it when it does come out.
Think you putting yourself out in the crowd?
No, probably not, because I was sitting opposite of the entranceway, and I don't think you'll be able to see me. A couple of times they did show the camera on me, so maybe, I don't know.
Did they say you were a social influencer for the NWA when they put the camera on you?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anyone gave a shit about me being there. So, but look.
Don't talk so negative about yourself.
What's that?
Don't talk so negative about yourself.
Who else could say? Because now Pam could say that she's been to Mexico City to see the world's heavyweight champion defend his title, but who else could say that they saw the world's heavyweight champion defend in China and Mexico?
I don't know.
Just me. Pollo says, "Don't talk so negatively about yourself. Let DKM do that." That's right.
Yes, ma'am. See, she understands.
That's the dynamic of our relationship.
Exactly.
So again, just to put the cherry on top, Mexico was great. I did enjoy myself. I am a little worse for wear afterwards, but you know, in a couple of weeks I travel again. I'll be heading to New Jersey on March the 25th, and I will be spectating professional wrestling in rustic Glassboro, New Jersey, at the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event. And I know some of you guys will be there with me to watch it, so we'll have some more clips. Hopefully, the owner of Dog won't mind if we show some clips of their show on this podcast as well.
I don't know. I heard he was kind of a P word.
There's several of them.
Yeah, I know. I figured I'd let your imagination pick that one out.
Yeah, I figured pansy.
Poyo said, I heard that too.
Yeah, I don't like that guy at all, honestly. You know, I like him more than Daredevil Dave Dahl, but that's like saying you'd rather get kicked in the knees than kicked in the balls.
Pam asked if I'm going to Chicago 312. I'm not, but I'm tentatively scheduling myself for the 75th anniversary. So, Pam, if you're going to be out there at 75th, I hope we can meet up there. That would be really cool. Pam was there the entire weekend, and I did see her, but during the concert, I didn't want to bother her. But we never even got to say hi or anything. So hopefully when 75th rolls around, I can say hi to Pam. But yeah, like we were at the same place at the same time. We just, vibing at a concert, you don't really want to be like, hey, what's going on? And then Pam says I should have. So now I feel like a heel. But yeah. And then Poyo says that dog guy wouldn't dare show his face around here. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, Dr. Zirconium, he's too busy doing all the stuff he does in the medical profession.
Yikes. Poyo says I was down there bizzing in some Rizats. No, I'm very happily married, and I don't want to die. I don't want STDs.
That's what they all claim.
I'm a very happily married man. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Moving on. Let's talk about power.
Do we have to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else do you want to talk about?
Oh, what it's like to have all your fingernails pulled off or something? I don't know. Something of less plain.
Hey, did you guys see the new shirt that we're selling at the Alliance merchandise store?
I have not. What does it look like?
It's dope. I love it. I ordered mine this week. You can get your Alliance Fantasy shirt. I ordered mine in green for St. Patrick's Day. But I really dig this shirt. And again, it's available for $15. You can't beat that with a stick.
And where's the link at, Jay?
It's in the bio of the video.
You should probably put it in the chat too, but Jay.
That might be very smart of me, guys. Maybe I will. Maybe.
Along with your link to Dubby, so maybe Camille can get some.
Camille needed some. Poor girl. When you guys
my, look at that. I see the shirt.
Buy the shirt.
Following the link in the bio.
There. It's in the chat now. Poyo said, wow, DKM can wear that shirt and it looked like the Phoenix was swooping down to grab one of his nips.
You want to see my tattoo?
Jay, I've seen your tattoo. James says, I ordered mine and I always make sure I'm in one of the first. James, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for getting that. And again, I have a few more shirt designs that are coming out in the next couple of weeks. If you guys just choose to, represent the Alliance, that'd be great. No one's going to beg you to do it. No one's going to put a gun to your head for sure. But if you want to represent your favorite NWA themed podcast, we'll do it. Jammin' Music Man says we need Danny Deals and Candy to give us some promo codes for some Alliance blog merch. I don't have codes for the Alliance blog, but if you're looking for codes for the NWA, I do have this one, and that's I was given this earlier in the week, and I believe it's still good until the
take down the message, Jay.
I'm working on it. For the spring cleaning deal, the NWA comes out with a lot of good merch too. I don't know if that's Danny Deals that's producing it, but 20% off all your orders using the code Spring Deals with a Z, and that's good until tomorrow. So make sure, and there's no kickback, right? This isn't. I'm not getting anything from this. This is just for you guys. If you want to save 20% off your merchandise from the NWA, that's the best way to do it. Jade, did you happen to watch this week's edition of Power?
No.
That was a dumb question, huh? DK, you finished watching Power on Tuesday, right?
Yeah, I watched it the day it came out. Not live, but the day.
Very interesting. I watched it today, so 2 days after its release. I slept most of yesterday, but the release of yesterday on Tuesday, I noticed that they've already had 50,000 people watch that episode, which I think is a good sign of at least people are checking out the NWA again. Of course, we started off with Trevor Murdoch in action. We had that big matchup between him and the Beast mode. This match was very David and Goliath, and you don't normally see Trevor Murdoch in that position where he's the smaller guy in the ring. I heard we talked about this on Tuesday with the pre-party, and I don't know who this guy is. Excuse me, I didn't talk about it. The other Alliance guys talked about it on Wednesday. I need some medication, I think.
We've all thought that.
Yeah, well, it was reported that this guy might not be around for a while, but he definitely had a presence in the ring. DK, what did you think about this matchup?
Well, my initial thoughts, just when they were starting in the ring, it's like, I guess they're bringing in a big guy to get Trevor over. I wasn't really sure what I was thinking about at that moment. And then I kind of watched the match going. It was going kind of the way I figured it would, where, the big guy would get some moves in, but Trevor would come back and look like he was on the verge of hitting his finisher when somebody else ran out who I didn't know and didn't recognize. And when they gave me the name, I didn't know and didn't recognize. And
it looked like Lash LaRue to me.
Yeah, kind of. And I guess his name, I saw it somewhere. Hold on just a second. I guess his name was Daisy Kill.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what a Daisy Kill is. I'm not sure I like the name. But I don't know. We'll talk about it comprehensively. While I watched it, I was a little more, what are they doing? But as a whole with the show, which we can talk about more towards the end, I think this is part of what they may be changing and doing, and we'll cover that a bit later.
Someone in the chat, I think it was Mike, said, is he a former NBA player? That's what I heard. He's from Puerto Rico. They list him as 7 foot. He goes by Mr. Beast. And then Jammin Music Man says that he goes by El Diablo in other places too. But I heard that he didn't work out very well. And if you watch that match, I mean, there was some. It kind of got rough there a little bit. And I don't mean rough as in like he was stiff. It was rough as in like I don't think he was leaning into the moves, if that makes any sense. It was kind of it looked like, Trevor was swinging and he was moving way too early, so it didn't look very believable. If I'm using the right words, it looked like he was fanning him and he was, selling hits that weren't connecting. It looked bad to me.
Trevor did look frustrated at one point.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, look, I'm not going to get too much on the guy. You got to know who you're putting in the ring and who you're putting him in the ring with and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Yeah, Poyo, I think noticed the same thing that you did. and I'm sure there was a lot of discussion after that match about that.
Off subject, I'd like to see Trevor Murdoch team with the Thrillbilly. They call him like Eastbound and Down, or the Whiskey Bent and Hellbound, or something like that. I'd like to see them wrestle each other, especially. I mean, not wrestle each other, wrestle as a team. Especially knowing that Billy will probably eventually break them up when we get a match out of it.
I just felt like
you can't argue that logic.
Poyo said that'd be a very solid tag team. I just going back to, what do you do with Trevor now anyways? Because it kind of feels like they've ushered him out of the title picture, and that might be something that you could consider doing with him. But I think at this point, the trajectory that Silas is on right now, I'd rather keep him as a singles right now and see where he could go with that. But with Trevor, I mean, you do need to find something for him, and I think maybe it'd be more fun to see Silas and Trevor feud as opposed to team up together.
Well, if they were a team, Billy will eventually make that happen.
Yeah. Poyo said presumably you're gonna see some other tag team partner pop up for Trevor. Seems like a solid opportunity. And, and Trevor, like, let's be honest, I don't want him ever to be too far away from the world title picture either. I feel like as a two-time champion, he should be at least in the conversation whenever we talk about potential challenges to whoever the holder of the 10 pounds of gold is. So I don't want him to be so involved in something else that he never has another shot at the 10 pounds of gold. But yeah, I wouldn't hate him in a tag team either.
It's a shame they can't bring in Dustin Rhodes. That could be the new West Texas Rednecks.
With who?
Dustin Rhodes.
Oh, damn. Why do you keep making sense when you say these things? That would be pretty awesome.
So what else happened on the show, Jay?
What's that?
So what else happened on the show, Jay?
So the next match we had was the debut of Dante Smiley, and the first actual matchup where we see EC3 and Black Cheese together in the course of a match. Now this is a cooperated effort between the Church's Money and the Control Your Narrative. EC3.
Did they talk first?
Yeah, they did. EC3 doesn't really need a mouthpiece for him, but Black Cheese is pretty good on the mic, and I don't know, it kind of works. I felt like the promo, although it didn't say a whole lot, I felt like the connection there seemed kind of good, and I kind of like it. Church's Money is talking about, EC3 getting that opportunity. DK, what did you think about that promo with Black Cheese and EC3, the Overman?
Years and years and years and years ago, when I was but a teenage lad.
Back when David fought Goliath.
Exactly. I remember interviews with Jimmy Boogie Woogie Valiant and Pistol Pez Watley, who would later become Shaska Watley when he turned on Valiant. But before that happened, they would come out and they'd give these promos where there were a lot of words said, and you didn't know what either one of them were really talking about. I kind of felt that with this. But Black Cheese was probably the most charismatic he's ever been on the show. But just between the two of them, I heard a lot of words, but I really didn't get what their point was. And so, yeah, that sums it up.
So then they brought in Don. I don't want to get his name wrong, so let me pull it back up here.
Dante Smiley.
Dante Smiley. And you know what? They actually had a pretty solid match. It was interesting because I know that Dante Smiley had spent some time as part of that Control Your Narrative in the past. They even alluded to that in commentary saying, oh, they brought him in because he's they kept talking about the whole control your narrative. Does he bring these people in to wrestle because he knows he can take advantage of them, or is he actually trying to give them an opportunity? But Dante Smiley did work many of those control your narrative matches. In fact, he had some victories over guys like Weston Blake. He had some victories over Jamie Stanley. He teamed with EC3 and Flip Gordon. I mean, he was kind of over there. So it's nice to see a new face in the NWA, and hopefully this leads to more opportunity for him. He was built pretty well. I mean, he's a good physically built guy. I mean, he's in great shape, and he did get a lot of offense in on EC3, but ultimately it was this match was to make EC3 look good, and I thought he looked really, really good in this match. It's probably the best he's looked in a match in the NWA. What did you think?
Yeah, this is one of those things. I mean, the match was fine, and a good TV match, I guess you would call it. They're obviously developing a story with EC3. Might want to see it move just a little bit quicker, but yeah, I mean, I don't really have complaints about the match, and then my only complaint about the story is it's one thing not to know, oh, well, is he helping these guys out, or is he just taking advantage of them? I mean, we kind of know the answer. He's taking advantage of them, basically. And so, where is this heading? I guess that's kind of what I want to know. I don't want this to be a Bray Wyatt, Uncle Howdy thing in WWE where, several months later, we still don't know what the hell the point is.
Just some more comments in the chat. Poyo says he's built like beef jerky, just pure meat and muscle. Mike says G's talking with EC3 adds an element to EC3 for CYN and adds a good piece of banter between the two. Dodie says, no, Jay, EC3 needs the mouthpiece so he can himself shut up and just wrestle.
That's not actually bad.
Yeah. And then Poyo says the benefit of Black G's speaking for him is it redirects the EC3 character. And then to what Jade said a few minutes ago, Trevor, Thrillbilly, and Dustin would be a great stable. That would be pretty badass. But I kind of have
Redneck Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, that's fair.
2.0. You got to do the 2.0.
Is that like the Manscaped 2.0 or the lawnmower? That's who you need to get as sponsors, by the way, Jay. Manscaped, hit them up.
If you want me to get a Blue Chew as well,
hey, if it pays the bill.
Anybody out there from Blue Chew or Manscaped, we would be happy to endorse your product. I'll even use it.
Raid Shadow Legends, come on, hit them up.
I'm not going to read it, but you guys can read it on the screen.
No, we would never do that.
We can't do that. That's nuts.
Exactly.
Bonkers.
Hey, Jay, what happened next?
Oh, geez. So I
no,
don't
it's
have
Black
my notes.
G's. Get it right.
What's that?
Exactly.
It's not OGs. It's Black G's.
I don't have my notes in front of me, so I apologize if I bump around a little bit. But I think this was when we got the promo with May in the back and Damage and Carnage, or was that after the next match?
I think it was after, but I think this was the one with Tom.
Okay. Oh yeah. So May asked Tom about Camille being challenged by La Rosa Negra for the Chicago 312, and these kind of promos I feel are a little. What is Tom supposed to say? Like what insight are we going to get from Tom at this moment? I would rather at this opportunity you talk about what challenges or opportunities are ahead for Tom when you put the camera in front of him. So I kind of felt like when May is addressing Tom about Camille's match, what is he going to say? Like, oh, well, yeah, it's time for Camille to lose the belt. La Rosa Negra's going to beat my wife. No, of course not. I mean, what do you think, DK? Am I wrong on this?
You're not wrong. Since they did eventually get to Tom and his plans, I'm willing to overlook it. But it was interesting in that it was almost like, if you're going to talk about that, it'd be better to have Camille there to talk about that part.
It makes him come off as Mr. Camille.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too, and I don't.
Well, they were going that direction at one time. I did notice that in this segment, they put over the world television champion far more than they normally do. That word "world."
Well, I'll say this: they started calling that world TV title when Tyrus was champion, and they had never stopped calling it the world TV title after he lost it. They called Goldwater the world TV champion as well.
They've used it on and off, but if you go back and watch it, you'll see a couple times they emphasize the word.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember which one it was, if it was her or him, but it was like, as the world television champion. And so Dusty had a habit of doing that.
Yeah.
It was always the world television title, but when he had a tendency to emphasize on the word world.
Weird times.
Weird times.
That video got a lot of views on TikTok, by the way.
Weird times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a side, please like, comment, and subscribe when you're watching these videos. It really does help with the algorithm and getting people to see more of the videos. I've noticed recently we've been putting a lot of shorts of the clips of matches and stuff up, and they're getting seen by tens of thousands of people. And then these videos are getting seen by 100 people, which, I mean, that's fine if that's the audience, but we sure would like to grow this audience. So if you guys can give us a thumb up if you like the video, comment,
share it,
that would be great. I do appreciate that. And again, we are on all social media platforms. We're on obviously Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, on TikTok, even on what's the other one? The Hive.
Sometimes this podcast gives me hives.
Yeah, maybe.
Only
Mike,
if I get stung by a bee.
Mike, I want the thumb up on the screen, not anywhere else. Thank you, Mike. Mike is feeling himself tonight. Wait, that didn't sound right either. Sorry.
What are you saying?
I'm sick.
With that comment, we kind of figured that part out.
Mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's why you need that medication.
I do.
Do I have to do my Hey Jay again, or are you going to move on to the next thing?
Debbie. Yeah, okay. So the next matchup we have the hair versus mask match. Now, I was looking forward to this, to be quite honest with you. Like, I thought this was the day I've been waiting for, because knowing that I saw, Sal, the pal, in Mexico City with his flowing locks, I already knew who was going to win this match, because I know Sal the pal wasn't going to lose his hair. So I was very much looking forward to this moment, that maybe this would finally be the end of Gags the Gimp in the NWA. And I'm not saying that Gags the Gimp is the bane of my existence. I just don't like the gimmick, and I don't like the character. And I would like to see that persona, that wrestler, find a new gimmick to wrestle under as, because I do enjoy the wrestler that's under that mask, just not in this character. This match never really got going the right way. Sinister Minister's in there slapping both of them around, yelling at both of them. Sal the Pal spent more time sitting down clapping than actually trying to win the match. The it goes back and forth where really no one had a clear advantage. They get to the outside, obviously, and this is where the clock starts ticking, and then they get back in the ring, and you're like, okay, great, we're gonna have a finish, and this match is gonna happen. Pam loves gags. I'm sorry, Pam. I'm not a big fan of gags.
That sounds very interesting in your personal life, but as a wrestler,
they spill back out.
Dayton wants you to call him.
Maybe later. The match falls out of the ring again, and this is where the two of them keep stopping each other from getting back into the ring, where we get the count out, and we don't have a decision. Nobody loses their hair. Nobody loses their mask. I think because neither one of them won the match, they both should have had to cut their hair and take off the mask because they didn't win, so you should have been forced to have that punishment. DK, what did you think of this?
My goal is for Gags again, the character, to disappear forever. My goal is for Sal the Pal, the character, to go away forever. I actually wouldn't mind if he shaved his head and he and the guy under the mask actually, would just work as wrestlers. I think both of them, could be good at working with the younger guys. And that would be a good way to use them. In a basic booking thing, anytime you do a stipulation or something's going to happen and you end it, you put on a bad match and then don't follow through with any of the stipulations, you're kind of screwing the people that you're telling, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we're going to do. And although it's all right sometimes to, quote unquote, screw the fans, that's normally in a heel face dynamic where you're expecting the, face to go over and the heel does, and, does it because he hits a guy with an oxygen tank or something. And yeah, they Dixie carded us, or even Vince McMahon, like when Vince twice had Hell in the Cell matches end that basically with no ending. It's like the whole purpose of Hell in the Cell is to get that, decisive thing.
It's like whenever there's a death match and nobody really dies,
Yeah, exactly.
listening to you guys, this match was so bad I shaved my own head and took my mask off. Because I'm the ultimate loser listening to this.
This match was so bad that I had to put my mask on.
Hey, you look better.
It's LJ Brony.
Exactly. But yeah, this is one of those things when I get left with what was the person thinking? We'll say Billy, since Bill is the acknowledged booker. What part of what goes on in the head that you think, hey, this would be a great idea? We'll put Gags and Sal out there in a hair versus mask match, even though we never really explain why they're together or why they're apart. But they're going to wrestle each other, and we're going to have hair versus mask, and we're not going to pay off with anything.
What's going through their brain? THC.
That could be the case. And, the sad part is, I know Gags can do a good match, and Sal has done good matches, although I've never really liked any of his NWA gimmicks, if I have to be completely honest.
They're planting marijuana seeds, apparently.
Maybe, but that's not an excuse.
Look, I think if it is planting the seeds, then that means there needs to be a payoff at some point. And I really feel like the whole Father James Mitchell story has kind of run its course. That faction, the Miserably Faithful, haven't really done anything worthwhile. Max the Impaler being maybe the only shining point of that group, and with them being in the women's television tournament, if James Mitchell exclusively manages Max, I'm good with that. But I don't see where he's benefited any of the other talent. I don't feel like Sal has gotten over with his gimmick. I don't feel like Judeus has gotten over with his gimmick, and I don't feel like Gags has really gotten over with his gimmick either. And if there was some sort of way to kind of wash it out and they could do something else, because I don't think that Judeus is a bad wrestler. I don't think that Sal is a bad wrestler, and I don't think that Gags is a bad wrestler. I just don't think that this gimmick works for me.
I'm not sure on Judeus. I don't, he's had a couple of shots into some of the bigger promotions without much success. But that being neither here nor there, you can't bring guys in like Judeus, present them as these monsters, and basically they get their ass handed to them every time they're in the ring.
I mean, the first time he lost to James Storm, and then he lost to Chris Adonis, and it's like, yeah, Chris Adonis could be a potential world champion at some point down the road, but after that, once he's lost to those two guys, what's the mystique about him? How is he anything? He's not the Undertaker, just
and so he's basically only won enhancement matches.
Yeah.
Anytime they put him in with anybody else, he's lost. And so there's just a moment of, they have killed anything about him to make him acceptable to the audience. I mean, this is the good example of the go away. Maybe we can bring you back in a year and we'll use you better then. But for right now, you've kind of been killed in the eyes of the audience, and we need a refresh. And it's the same, we don't need an ending. We just need Gags the Gimp and Sal the Pal to go away.
They also need just to refresh the roster because, they only have so many spaces, and there's a lot of young talent that possibly could be filling in those spots and being put on television that can get over and actually make some money for the promotion.
Well, right, and that's what I was talking to you about earlier. Look, Gags, you can take him out. You can take him out for one set of tapings and bring him back as the wrestler that he's best known as. And put him in the ring, especially with younger, smaller, greener guys, and let him give them on-the-job training, so to speak. And Sal, similar. Sal probably needs to go away for about 6 months. Shave his head or cut his hair short or something, and then come back as Sal Rinauro or whatever. And kind of like Josephus did. And then, you put him in the ring with that same group, the kind of younger, greener talent, and you give them the chance to work with, veterans, get some of that on-the-job training. After they work with them, they can talk with them in the back and go over, the stuff that worked, the stuff that didn't work, and build some things up. And I'm not saying they even have to be strictly enhancement talent. They can get victories over some of these young green guys. There's nothing wrong with that. to keep, so, we don't know just every time they get in the ring, they're going to lose, that's where you give people a chance, you give them their learning opportunity. That's what the road shows used to be.
Yeah.
That's what you did on road shows. You stuck the young green guy in there with the, mid card, lower card veteran, and you said, okay, you work with this guy and learn what he teaches you.
Do you think?
I kind of think.
Do you think that the NWA will ever get to a point where it's doing stuff live that it's not recording, that it's not creating content?
In this day and age, I don't know. I think if they could get to the point where they could draw 1,000, 2,000 people, where most of that is actually tickets sold.
Yeah.
Then sure, because then you can probably pay for it. You can pay for bringing the guys around, stuff like that. Again, I think, there have been promotions here in Texas that, lasted as long as the promoters were willing to put their money into it. But, their business model, so to speak, was they went to underserved cities about once a year.
Yeah.
And they did sponsorships with local businesses and normally a school setting for their bully thing, anti-bullying campaigns.
Right.
And then that gave them the opportunity to, in those communities, you're in there, you're involved, you send, one of your top wrestlers in for a while to go around and, press the flesh, so to speak, and all that. And it gave them a chance. That's why they would have good turnout.
Yeah.
Anywhere between, well, it was never quite as many people as they claimed, but they could get 700 to 1,200 in a place. And I think if you could start drawing around 2,000, I don't know that I don't know that they can ever run weekly, but I think they could probably run, maybe month. If they could get to monthly pay-per-views, you could probably do quote unquote house shows on either side of the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
If you put the pay-per-view on Saturday, you could probably do a show Friday night. You could probably do a show Sunday if you're not tying them into a TV taping that you have to do.
Would you think it would be a good idea to do just more dark matches ahead of the pay-per-view? They do a very good job of presenting a pre-show, a free show. And some of those matches are actually really entertaining, but do you think it would make sense for them to do a few more dark matches where they could let these guys in front of a smaller audience, again, put a younger guy with a veteran and just let them get in the ring with these guys? Or is that just not going to happen?
I mean, you couldn't do a ton of them. I mean, let's look at the UFC model.
Sure.
UFC has early preliminaries, main card. So if you were going to translate that into the way the NWA might do something, or the way a wrestling company might do something. Now, the early preliminaries used to never be on at all. Now they're on like just ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
And then the preliminaries, depending on the show, it's typically a 2-hour show telecast on ESPN, one of the ESPN channels. And then if it's pay-per-view, of course, the main card's pay-per-view. If it's not, then the main card is normally, again, either part of ESPN Plus or or on one of the ESPN shows. Or I guess since ESPN's tied in with ABC, I think they've had a couple on ABC too. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the basic model, you could probably have 2 or 3 early dark matches. I mean, like when you're opening the doors, there might not be 3 people there. Or, just the early people or whatever, still looking for a seat and getting their popcorn or whatever. And you could probably have 3 5 to 8 minute matches. Let a young guy get in the ring with a vet, and get some experience in front of a live crowd, even if it's only 50 people, and that's how you start evaluating. This would be like local guys.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, so here are some guys that wrestle locally.
Hey, Jazz, Rodney, bring in some folks that you guys think might be able to help out.
Right. Here are some people. Contact a local promoter. Hey, David, who are some people we could use? And, you have to be honest with them. This isn't, because you can even get the veterans out of them. You don't have to get, you don't always have to use your veteran. But, you go in DFW and go, hey, give me a guy that's been wrestling about 10 years and give me a guy that's, and I'll put him against one of my green guys. Or give me a green guy and I'll put him against one of my veterans.
Yeah.
And, let's work. And that gives you the chance to scout talent too. Hey, this is somebody who we can keep an eye on. Hey, this is somebody we need to steal.
And that's another interesting question. I know we stopped talking about power to just kind of talk about like the way that the NWA is using its talent and stuff. But I don't know that they have a scouting talent per se. Like I know, like, look, we see when they go to Tampa, you see some of Gangrel students get an opportunity. When they were in Atlanta, we see some of the Nightmare Factory students get an opportunity. When they're in St. Louis, we see some of the St. Louis trainees get an opportunity. But would it make sense for someone in the NWA for them to hire or to use somebody as a scouting talent to bring people to power?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know what they do. I honestly don't. They got some good producers back there between Pritchard and Rodney and Jazz and Medusa, and I don't remember who all else is back there.
I think Homicide helps produce too.
So I mean, so they certainly got people who could probably, have enough business connections to where they can get in touch with local people and sit there and go, hey, who's someone we need to keep an eye out for? I mean, we have a local talent here. She's young. I don't know that she has a ton of experience. I think she's been wrestling 2 years.
Talking about Amaris?
Yeah.
Or Amaris?
Amaris is what I call her. Glamorous Amaris Blair. And, she's won some local titles. She won the IHWE title. And if we can ever get a show put back on, maybe she'll defend it. And my point is, that's somebody who you might sit there and go, okay, if you're looking for a young person that needs experience or, a young person you might want to look at for future things, let's bring her in and let's put her in the ring with, mid-card level female over there. Or even somebody like Kenzie Page, somebody who's probably about the same age and same experience as far as how long or how many matches, but who's worked NWA and understands that thing. okay, let's see if they can work together in the ring. Let's see what she has. And, they would probably be impressed. Give them a chance. Give them a chance to do a promo. You don't even have to record it. Unless they bring their phone and have a friend or boyfriend or whatever stand there. I mean, you don't have to record it for your sake, but just like, hey, give me a 2-minute promo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe this is
and I want to see how close you get to 2 minutes. I want to see if you can convince me of anything.
Well, and maybe we're way ahead of ourselves here because we're not, the NWA is not there yet.
They're not there yet, but I don't think they're far away.
I don't think so either.
I think let's finish out Power because I want to talk about what I saw in Power that may be good things for future.
Yeah, Mr. Jaden's back now, and that's Mr. Jaden to you, sir. So then the last part of Power, or actually next we get the promo with May and Carnage and Damage. Now I kind of like how May was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, Damage." From the wedding, obviously she was very hysterical and smashed a champagne bottle over Damage, and the blunt force trauma doesn't have a lot to say. Oddly conspicuous by his absence was Aaron Stevens. But not a lot was said there.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
But, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
If they want me to take Damage and Carnage or blunt force trauma or however you want to build them seriously, Aaron Stevens has to stop getting them disqualified.
Yes. They need to go on a streak. They need to get hot. And they really need to, they can't be a force to reckon if they don't ever win a match.
Right. So,
Jaden, I want to get your take on this. A tag team could be devastating, but if they don't actually win the match, how can you use them?
There was a time where there was wrestlers that would wrestle and they would get disqualified against enhancement guys, but then they would wrestle and win matches against big guys. So it is something. Also, there's precedence, and I hope they're not copying it. When Doom wore the masks initially, they lost more than they won. And it wasn't until they lost the mask and picked up Teddy Long as their manager, they started becoming dominant and winning. I hope they don't do that, because that's kind of stupid too.
And besides, Teddy Long just needs to stay retired at this point.
What are you saying, Play? He's going to make a tag team match. Holla!
Well, Teddy, not to get too far off of Power, but Teddy Long does a lot of work with United Wrestling Network out in Memphis. He's like their matchmaker from time to time.
But I think there's a balance. But so far in 2 matches straight, we saw Aaron Stevens get them disqualified in their world title match. So why give them another one? And then they have another match against a younger team that they should dominate and win. And again, Stevens just gets them disqualified.
Yeah.
And it's like you go, they don't care, they're so awesome or whatever. But it's just like, yeah, but I don't want this. You never want the same thing every match, no matter what type of match it is. It's one thing if every time on TV, Tommy Rich is winning with the Thez press. But it's another thing if every time Tommy Rich goes and wrestle for 10 minutes or 5 minutes and then throws him over the top rope.
Yeah. I think I like the idea that they're rough and tough, right? I think I would have been presented them in a way where Aaron Stevens isn't getting them disqualified, but they were getting disqualified because they were too rough with their opponents. I think that would have been a better compelling storyline. But now, you still have an opportunity to build them up. Look, there's plenty of talents on that roster that you could have them get wins over that are not going to hurt them at all. Like Gil Begotten, the Spectaculars, Yeah. They can start getting some wins, some casual wins, and then beating some decent tag teams, more impressive tag teams, and build them up the right way with Steven still being their manager, but just being a little bit more controlled chaos instead of being so all over the place. I really feel like if you build them up, they should be tag team champions. They would be good tag team champions. And you guys talk while I fix my battery.
I mean, I think they could be believable as tag team champions. But again, it becomes believable if they go on a winning streak.
Yeah.
I mean, even Jaden's example, Doom didn't win the tag team titles until they went on a winning streak with the new manager.
Yeah, maybe that's what they need. They need somebody new in their corner, or somebody to turn on Aaron Stevens and bring in the Pope. And the Pope's now their manager, and the Pope has his own faction. And they go and destroy everybody with the Pope in charge and help the Pope win a championship. See? This is stuff off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to eat my chips.
Dave Scooby brings up, should the Now be brought back to the NWA? 100%. They need good tag teams. The Now was a very good tag team. They just, the problem with the Now is that they weren't over with the NWA audience yet. So they got used as, bait for basically for the Briscoes. And I mean, that's a good tag team to lose to. The Briscoes are really good. I would like to see the Now come back to the NWA and spend some time there, because they were a good tag team. They were fun to watch in the ring. Those guys were.
But again, I think we need some wins. One thing that nobody's doing, I mean, this isn't just Billy. This is kind of wrestling in general. Nobody goes on, or only one wrestler goes on like these win streaks.
Yeah.
Instead of going, here's our tag team that's on a streak. Here's our top challengers, and they're on streaks. They kind of have Rock records. Somebody once pointed out, they go, The Rock probably lost 55% of the time, but
yeah,
but he was just such a huge personality that it didn't matter, and then he would get his win back at some point, some other way. But let's talk about the video package they did, because I'm curious as to your thoughts on that video, man.
Yeah, no, that was good. And I really, I think I skipped the first one. So let's just talk about both of them. They did the video packages setting up for the next women's matches. I think they said in 2 weeks for Ashley D'Amboise and Kenzie Page. I felt like they did a very good job. These kind of promos, I think, are going to help. It makes the NWA look more professional, right? It's very high quality. And you have the talent speaking about each other without an actual in-ring, confrontation or, backstage promo with May. These talking heads, I feel, kind of add something unique to this show. So when you have Kenzie Page, talking about Ashley D'Amboise, I feel like it's very much setting up an expectation that it's going to be a good match.
Yeah, I think there was something here. This was Kenzie Page doing this promo as opposed to Kenzie part of Pretty Empowered.
Right.
I mean, this was not her Pretty Empowered character, which you can, we liked her. The Pretty Empowered characters kind of grew on us like a fungus. But
make sure you see DK on Last of Us now on HBO as the cordyceps grow on him.
But anyway, so I did enjoy that aspect of it. So, I mean, that one was good. And the other one was Taya and James Mitchell, right?
Yeah, Father James Mitchell, speaking on behalf of them, Max the Impaler. And that was also really good, too, when Taya was talking about, her. I mean, she alluded to the Perros del Mal growing up on the streets of Mexico. I mean, not growing up in the streets of Mexico, but training on the streets of Mexico Obviously, for those who don't know, Taya used to actually be an NWA wrestler. She got her start with the Supergirls, which was NWA ECCW in the early 2000s, but didn't get really got her fame when she debuted for AAA, working with the Perros de Mal, and seeing her kind of return to her roots. I mean, that's a long time thing for her. And again, it just kind of sets that opportunity up where it gives that big match feel. It's a big fight feel. This is what the 10 pounds of gold was perfect for, is building up these big type matches. Obviously, it's not the full on, backstory, the documentary leading up to the title match, but it certainly gives you something to look forward to when those matches happen.
Yeah, it's definitely something lost when Lagana got Me Too'd. As they did lose a lot of those actual well done produced promo packages. One of my favorite things whenever there was a big boxing fight coming up on HBO was HBO 24/7, where they would have everything talking about the fights. Made me really, really want to see every single fight that they were promoting. And I think wrestling has missing that. There needs to be more sports in professional wrestling and less entertainment. There still needs to be entertainment. We need some sizzle to go with that steak.
Right.
But we need a T-bone now, not a steakum that's scrapped off with a lot of sizzle.
Yeah, for me, the big thing about these video packages is, one, I found them the right length.
Yeah, they weren't
I
too
didn't
long.
get tired. I didn't get tired. So that was the first thing. The second thing was everybody who talked well.
Yes. So,
I mean, this is one of those cases where I'm sure they did retakes. I'm sure they, if something didn't work right or if they didn't feel it went right, I'm sure it went back and said, hey, let's try this again, or let's try it this way. And so they came off well-spoken. They focus on the match, on their opponent, on, wanting the prize at the end of this. And so how does that affect me as a fan? Well, I want to see these matches now. They're not just kind of thrown out there like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Taya Max, or of course, Taya Max, something I would want to see anyway. But let's say Kenzie Page and Ambrosia, or whatever her name is. Amboise, sure. Does she have marshmallows? That's all that really matters.
That's Ambrosia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know her too.
But my point being maybe that I may not actually have been interested in their match beforehand. In fact, I wasn't. And so, this was enough to give me, okay, let's see where this goes. And I felt like those were important.
And I think anytime you get optimism from DKM, you did something really good, because it's very rare that DK is impressed by something that they do. So I think being optimistic about these two matches, that build certainly was worth whatever effort they put into producing it. So that brings us to the main event. We get Camille versus Ruthie J. Not a very long match. And I pointed out earlier in some of the clips that we watched, there were elements of this match that were borrowed for that match that she had with Lady Flamer. The Gordy power slam into the not Gordy, excuse me, Dr. Death power slam into the turnbuckle, and then the power slam. We used to see Dr. Death do that all the time. And then there were other moves that you didn't get to see through the through my short clips, but there was a lot of elements of that match that we saw on Tuesday that I also saw on Saturday. I felt this was a good match. Ruthie J looked pretty impressive for her debut. Obviously, she wasn't going to win, but putting her in the match with Camille says a lot about what they think about Ruthie J, and making that the main event also felt kind of important. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Ruthie J. She did get some offense in, but this was Camille's match to win, obviously, and she won it with the spear. DK, what did you think about this one?
For this match, I think they handled it correctly. And that if you're going to make it the main event with a debuting person, that you know they're not going to win the match.
Right.
They gave her enough offense to make her interesting, but Camille took the match for the most part. Ruthie, who played the heel and was a heel, she had opportunistic offense. And so, that works. And it was just enough to, I think, you knew what it was going to be, but you could still enjoy the match. But so now that we've hit the end and we're running into 2 hours, so we'll try and keep this short. But what I've been seeing, what I've been talking to multiple other people about, is that this seemed to be a turn for the NWA, in that for the first time I felt like they're using a studio type setting more correct. Not perfect, as with Gags and Sal, but more in the idea of, here are some matches, but what we're really doing is saying, here's some stuff that's going on in the promotion that you want to see. And in order to see it, you're probably going to have to buy the pay-per-view. Back in the old days, studio wrestling was to sell your once a month, once a week, every other week show at the Omni or the Sportatorium or wherever they wrestled in Memphis, auditorium or whatever. And that's what your studio show was. It was an infomercial back before there were infomercials. It was, here's our product. Here are the guys that we have in our company. But you're not going to see them wrestle each other, or you're rarely going to see them wrestle each other here on TV. If you want to see them wrestle each other, come to the Omni, in 2 weeks or next week, and, see Paul Orndorff challenge for the national championship against Buzz Sawyer. And so, the first match, I don't know what the plan was. I'm sorry, big, tall, mass dude. You weren't overly impressive, but
Beast mode.
What?
Beast mode.
Yeah, sure.
He gone. He ain't come back.
But Daisy Kill, who's supposed to be making his debut in the coming weeks, so apparently they're building some storyline with him and Trevor, I guess. I mean, wasn't at tapings, I don't know, but you feel like that might be where they're heading.
Can I say this real quick? Just real quick. I'm kind of surprised they aired the match if it was that bad and they're not planning on using him going forward.
Well, I think, again, that might be...
they just needed content?
Well, they needed content, and then maybe if you're doing something with Daisy Kill, then people need to understand maybe why next week Trevor's mad at him.
That's fair.
If they're doing something. I'm hoping they're doing something. I am seeing elements in the show. Show's 38 minutes. So it's not very long. It has a few matches on it that are to progress concepts. Camille's your world champion. That's the concept in the main event. Non-title match, but she went out there and you see why she's the world champion. Trevor Murdoch's a freaking badass.
Yeah.
EC3, he's up to something. We don't know what he's up to, but he's up to something. And so I see what I feel as some kind of build, and we complained a lot that they didn't do much to build to their pay-per-views in their tapings.
Yeah.
And so, I'd rather have a shorter show that builds to something than a longer show that has, therapy sessions and
Yes.
weddings and stuff like that. So if he can phase out the silliness and focus on, here's what we're going to be doing at the pay-per-view, or this is why you should be interested in this person, and start focusing on wrestlers, I think this could be a good trend. I think it could be the start of something that is a good trend. Now, do I have faith he won't screw it up? Not necessarily. But, and I'm not saying, okay, this is it. Now the show's interesting or whatever. I'm saying I'm seeing glimpses of hope that, maybe by this time next year, we'll see a more comprehensive package.
And that's praise from Caesar right there.
Let's look at probably the best storyline they did, and that was most likely Nick Aldis versus Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah.
Or, they had 4 matches, almost to the point where I didn't really want to see another match, but they set it up to the point where it's like, okay, now we know Trevor's winning the title. And it's like, even though you kind of knew, and, let's be honest, there are certainly lots of title changes we knew were going to happen. And, but, there was a build, there was a story, there were things that were happening. Didn't necessarily like the way Trevor was booked throughout most of it, but there was something going on. And, again, if we can move away from silliness and get more into an infomercial of here's our product, what you really want to, and this would work better again if there was like a monthly pay-per-view, or, like we were talking earlier, even like a monthly big show somewhere that, hey, maybe if Bob wins the full flush title on Friday night, that you can sit there and go, wow, you can't see that unless you show up at some of these shows.
Yeah.
Wrestling's reached the point now where it's like, well, if it's not on TV, we know it's not real. We know it's not happening. As somebody says, it's in comic book terms, they're their own. What's the word?
Continuity.
Where house shows are one thing and TV shows are another. But if I go watch WWE at the Arlington UTA gym, you can fit 5, 6, 7,000, 10,000 fans in there sometimes. But I know if Bianca Belair defending her Raw Women's title, it ain't going to change hands.
Right.
And I know, and I'm never going to see Roman Reigns because he doesn't do those cards anymore.
Yeah.
And so, and Austin Theory's not going to lose his U.S. title, and the Usos aren't going to lose their tag team titles. But if you can get to the point where if you can't do a pay-per-view, but you can do a big show every month, and even Kevin used to say this, sometimes you just got to be there. We might have like a handheld clip from somebody from their phone, but you're not going to see the whole match. And, sometimes you have to be there. Not that necessarily do that with the World Heavyweight title, but certainly any of the. I mean, you could switch the U.S. tag team titles.
Sure.
You can do like they didn't. You can do like they did on the old days. Where they took Buzz Sawyer and the Brett Sawyer and the Road Warriors up to Ohio, and title changed hands every night they wrestled. But
yeah,
Brett and Buzz won them every night in Ohio, and then they won them in Atlanta, and then Buzz was fired, and somewhere the Road Warriors won them back.
Well, let's wrap it up for the week. That's a lot to think about, and of course, the NWA will be back on Tuesday with a new episode of Power. The NWA heads to Australia later in April.
Don't forget USA.
Oh yeah, and USA, and the 312 pay-per-view. So we'll be talking about all these upcoming events right here on this channel. Of course, Tuesday is the pre-party with J Cal. That's me. Wednesday is the other Alliance guys. That's them. And then this is the Alliance Guys podcast. We're here every Thursday. Now, before we go, there is a big event happening again on March the 25th in Rustic, Glassboro, New Jersey. And Jaden, why don't you tell us what's happening on that date?
On Saturday night, March 25th, at that Max Fit Sports Center, located at 240 Delsey Drive South in beautiful Uptown Rustic, Glassboro, New Jersey, you get to see what we're going to call Beware of Dog. DAWG. The main event is scheduled. It's a double main event. The first one is going to be for the World Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Championship, as the current champion, Chris Steeler, defends against Busky Eric Martin. Eric Martin's looking to get a modicum of revenge because Chris Steeler cost him the dog championship at that Rowan event, where most people think championship matches and championships aren't going to change hands, and they did.
Hey, Jaden.
Yes.
Has anyone ever held the dog championship in the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship?
It has never happened, so maybe you're going to see history take place as that match happens, because there's never been a wrestler who has held the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Championship, the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship, and there's never been a wrestler to hold either of those championships or the Dog Tag Team Championship. So again, this may be your first time you can see at least somebody win another championship in dog. And Busky Eric Martin's looking for revenge. He's got a new baby to support, so he's going to need that money. Make sure you bring money to buy some Busky shirts.
Make sure there's Busky shirts to be sold, because I will be buying one.
I will tell him to make sure you bring some Busky shirts and to bring some extra Busky.
The Busky and Dubby.
Yes, the Busky and Dubby connection. But it's going to be a great match because, honestly, Chris Steeler, he's been a great champion, and he's defended that championship against all challengers. But this match right now, I think, is going to be one of his toughest. And the only loss, technically, that Eric Martin's ever had was in a three-way match against Brogan Finley and Chris Steeler for that WWGP championship. So I think that's going to be a big deal going on right now, seeing Busky not only get revenge for losing his championship, but get revenge against his only loss, and most importantly, walking out with that big gold belt, that WWGP championship. I think that's something that's going to be really great because, again, he's got a new kid he's got to take care of, so he's going to need that extra money. That's where championships bring money. And you're also going to see a rematch. It's new Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators heavyweight champion Justin Adams. He will be defending against the very popular Ty Thomas. Ty Thomas is the first person and the only person who has defeated Justin Adams and the last time they wrestled, he defeated Justin Adams at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Can he do it again with the gold on the line? I think right now this is going to be a match you don't want to miss. Again, you can buy the entire chair, but you're only going to need the edge of your seat.
Yes, the edge. All right, well, That's something I'm going to be looking forward to. Again, we're going to have an Alliance contingent there. We'll be talking about the show. We'll be doing, live streaming and photos, and DK won't be able to make it because, his bosses are jerks. But we're going to wrap it up there, guys. I thank you guys for tuning in with us on this this Thursday. Hopefully I'll be feeling better next week and you'll get a much better version of J-Cal. But until then, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. for NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance blog. And until next